Guys, remember way back several years ago when I did a reading of Hero of Canton? I told you to sit back and relax because it's going to be a long one. Um, yep, we got another one of those. So sit back, relax, grab a couple of drinks, because we're here for the long haul. Enjoy. The Immortal Game, Chapter 17. My name is Astar Corsair. The only sound that could be heard through the court of the sun was Fluttershy sobbing. She sat against the far wall, cradling Empyrean's limp body in her hooves. Tears streaked down her face to fall across the dead prince's mutilated neck. Her fragile form was racked with sobs. Twilight watched her, not sure what she should do. It wasn't just that she had no idea what to do with Fluttershy. She had no idea what to do with any pony, or even herself. The elements were black and inert. Twilight and her friends were just another 6 ponies. Even if they were some of the strongest soldiers in the world, what good were soldiers now? Fluttershy broke the silence with a cry.
He killed him!
She looked down at the tiny pony she held.
He wasn't dangerous,
she said softly.
He couldn't hurt anyone. He was just a child.
Twilight crossed the room where Fluttershy sat and leaned down beside her. I know, Fluttershy.
How can any pony do that?
Fluttershy said, looking up at Twilight.
He just...
A fresh set of tears rolled down her face as she broke down and started to sob once more. Twilight passed the fight to Celestia, but for now it seemed like she was still in charge. If she didn't give orders, no pony would. Get her away from him, she said to Applejack. All of you, get some rest. I know the sun is up, but it's barely 3 in the morning. You'll all find medical attention and get checked out. Applejack opened her mouth to protest. All of you, Twilight said. Dash, you look like you can hardly fly. Rarity is limping, and even you have limits, Applejack. So will you, Applejack said. Twilight didn't doubt they could hear the weariness in her voice. I'll be out in a bit. Twilight regretted the lie as soon as she spoke the words. She wondered if Applejack could still tap honesty, or if she just knew Twilight well enough. I have work to do. Twilight, I have work to do, she sighed. Rarity put a hoof on her shoulder.
Is this about Spike?
Of course it was about Spike. How could it not be about Spike? No, she said through gritted teeth. It's not about Spike. It can't be about Spike. It has to be about the continuity of our entire species, about restoring our way of life. I have to save the world, Rarity. I can't afford to be bothered by a single baby dragon who is already dead. Were it not for her ability to suppress her own emotions, Twilight knew she would be crying. Get to the army, she said. Find out what needs to be done and make sure it gets done. Chain of command until Luna gets back as Noble, Unimpressive, Starlight, Midnight. Find out who's still alive and let them know they're in charge. Applejack speaks for me. Twilight, Rainbow Dash said. You need to be alone, Twilight finished. I need to be alone. No pony stopped her as she began to walk towards the exit. When she got to the door, Fluttershy spoke.
We're going to kill him,
she said. Twilight looked back to see that Fluttershy was on her hooves again. She was looking at Twilight, her expression confused.
We're going to kill him,
Fluttershy repeated. Slowly, Twilight nodded. Twilight looked back at Applejack. I'll be back in the morning, she said. The doors to the court of the sun boomed shut behind her as she left. Twilight must prefer leaving the rest of her sentence unsaid. Then, you can tell me if my parents are still alive. Titan hadn't lied. The mountain had been turned into a plateau. It hadn't really been a mountain in the first place, or at least not a natural one. When Celestia and Luna had imprisoned Titan and Terra, the magic of their prison had inexplicably centered on a single point, the dark heart of the Everfree Forest, the one place Titan and Terra had forbidden them to in their childhood. Celestia and Luna had both been somewhat disappointed to find out it was just the geographical center of the Everfree. Still, she couldn't explain why the nexus of energy that composed Titan's prison had chosen to gather there. Just to be safe, Celestia had also used the heart as her workbench when she altered the fundamental properties of the world. She made the clouds more malleable, the animals more docile, and kept the monsters contained. The dark heart of the Everfree Forest held all the enchantments that turned her world into a paradise. She had created the mountain as a monument of sorts, a protective shell of stone over her enchantments, and a tombstone for her own mother and father. For more intelligent denizens of the Everfree, it was a warning. The heart of your home is mine. If I wanted more, you could not stop me. Stay away from ponykind. Whatever Titan had done, the entire top of the mountain had been sheared away, leaving a perfectly flat plateau rising over 100 feet off the ground. The surface was so smooth it might as well have been polished. Celestia briefly wondered where he put the rest of the rock. Celestia's hooves touched down on the stone. Discord appeared beside her, content to hover. He was acting oddly still, staring intently at their opponents. Across from them stood her parents. Or at least Celestia had thought they were her parents. Whether or not Terra was actually her mother was up in the air at this point. Perhaps Celestia could ask her before killing her. Titan and Celestia both wore near identical sets of conjured earth-pouring warplate, modified to fit alicorn form. Titan had, however, been the one to teach her the spell in the first place. Terra moved first, but not to attack. Her horn glowed a moment, and the moisture air around her coalesced, coating her in a thin layer of water. The water solidified back into a blade-casting robe. That Terra would prefer a robe made sense. That was what Luna wore, after all, and Terra taught her everything. Terra spoke.
Celestia,
She spat.
do you have any idea what this creature is? Allying yourself with him isn't just desperate. It's insane! He'll...
Titan tried to kill her. He was fast. There hadn't been much distance between them to begin with. Celestia hadn't even seen him beat his wings. Zenith wasn't even cast. Singularity edging towards her bare back. A lightless void intent on extinguishing her. Before Celestia could throw herself out of the way, Discord was between them, holding the end of a singularity in an outstretched claw. There had been no indication of his motion, no flash of light, no blur of moment. He just simply occupied a space he had only a moment beforehand. Celestia stepped back, shocked at Titan's use of such underhanded tactics. Terra looked just as surprised as Celestia was. Had Discord not intervened, she would be lacking ahead. Titan's accents told her he did not believe victory was guaranteed. He was trying to win, which meant it was possible for him to lose. Discord's intervention was the first time Celestia had ever seen her father stop for doing anything. Now, Titan. Discord said with a smile as he uncoiled to his full height. Why don't you pick on some Draconicus your own size? The world around them darkened as singularity drew in light. Celestia felt a tug towards the blade. Titan looked at Discord the same way he looked at everything else, as though he were an insect. The effect was somewhat dismissed by the fact that Discord was twice Titan's height. You wish to test your might against the king of the world? Titan said. So be it. Discord simpered out as he struck a mockery of a heroic pose. You know, Odor, he said. I do so love your sense of drama. He beckoned Titan with a claw. The space between them exploded. A ripple of concussive force tossed Celestia backwards, as he managed to tuck herself into a ball and rolled to her hooves about 100 feet away. Tiny bits of stone pelted her coat, but her earth pony magic was more than strong enough to protect her from any actual harm. She looked up to see the clouds above them parting as if they had just been recently disturbed. She drew Zenith just in time. Terra was on her in moments. With a flash of great neon light, Exogenesis met Celestia's blade as Terra came to a halt before her. They exchanged a series of blows, and Celestia noted with satisfaction that Exogenesis was channeling less power than her own weapon. Their blades locked against another in the air before them. Zenith bore down on Terra. Sister, Celestia said, tasting the way the words sounded for a moment for the first time. Are you also my mother? Or was that all a lie? Terra smiled, despite the fact that she was at a significant disadvantage. Most of what Gibby told you was lies, she said, but that one isn't. You are my daughter. Not that means anything to an alicorn. It means something to a pony. Terra barked out a humorous laugh. I'm well aware of how attached ponies are to their children, Sunshine. But how could you understand what it is to be a mother? Luna is barely 100. You haven't had children while we were away. Who are you to tell me I'm doing it wrong? Celestia thought of Twilight, murdering a steam as she carried on the sky on her shoulders. I suppose you're right, she said. What about your other parent, your sibling? Were they as crazy as you? Terra's eyes hardened. This will be embarrassing, she said. Celestia was thrown off balance as the stone beneath her liquefied. Her hose began to sink into a thick fluid as Terra swung at her with exogenesis. She blocked the swing with Sanus, tore free the ficus stone with a flap of her wings. Another flap brought her to land back on solid ground. Terra bounded across the pool of liquid and took another swing at Celestia. Celestia counted on Zenith once again, preparing to retaliate with superior force. She didn't get the chance to. Exogenesis split into two separate parts as it held Zenith. One of them came through the air toward her. Celestia threw herself back towards the avoid the blade. But Terra had obviously been expecting this. Her hoof connected to Celestia's face. It was a strike delivered with the strength of an alicorn. Celestia was thrown backwards over 50 feet as the sharp sound of the blow rang in her ears. She came to her host just in time to meet another one of Terra's advances. Celestia met with Zenith to race the block, but Terra split Exogenesis into two parts once more. He circumvented her blade. As she pulled Zenith back to block one, the air sliced her foreleg off at the knee. Blood spurted out of the severed limb, and without the weight of her leg, Celestia lost her sense of balance for a moment. Without hesitating, Celestia drove her intact foreleg into Terra's head, crossing most of her face and sending her windmilling into the stone below. Using unicorn magic, she pulled her severed foreleg back into place, and Earth Pony magic reknit the flesh and bone together.
Surprise!
Terra asked as she got to her host.
Everything you know about fighting is from me. I dare say Luna is better at this than you are. Her
face crackled, and Pontus' bones reknit themselves.
You think you're gonna win just because you're older?
Celestia regarded her mother. It was true. Terra did outclass her. Terra probably had all sorts of tricks to play, all manner of fighting styles and war spells Celestia had never seen. But Celestia was still stronger by a noteworthy margin. As long as she played it safe, she could survive until Terra ran out of tricks. There was nothing in her mind she couldn't learn, given time. She branded Zenith.
No, dear sister. I'm going to win, because I'm smarter.
It wasn't over. Not yet. Twilight trudged through the hallways of Canterlot Castle, examining the six-pointed black crystal that she floated before her. Equinox, the element of magic, rendered inert. She could still cast a blade, and she could still Pegasus and Earth Pony magic, but the true power of the elements of harmony were lost to her. Titan had broken them, somehow. She needed to fix them. She needed to find out exactly how Titan could stop them. Nothing else mattered. Not commanding the army, not crying over Spike, and not her. Her. By now the name Twilight Sparkle felt strange to her. It was her name, certainly. But she had been the pony to command the army of Equestria. Was she the pony who challenged the god and murdered General Esteem? Was that pony the same pony who used to tuck in Spike at night? Twilight stopped walking and leaned against the wall as she collected her thoughts. Now was not the time to undergo another identity crisis. Reason dictates he was never likely going to reconcile Twilight Sparkle the student with Twilight Sparkle the Godslayer. Her trivial emotions were nothing in the face of the greater threat. She didn't need to be happy. She didn't need the assurance that what she was doing was right. She didn't have time to regret releasing Discord or killing Esteem. The world was on the precipice of disaster, and she'd do whatever it took to make sure her pony got to live another day. Whatever it took. She came to Celestia's study, and was shocked by little had changed since she had been there last. The room was little more than a miniature, carpeted library, outfitted with a table and desk. It was also where Twilight had taken most of her lessons, the room she had grown up in. A quick sweep of her magical senses, and she found she was looking for in the wall behind the main bookshelf. With a thought, Twilight tore the entire wall and the bookshelf away. Safely hidden in the walls was a tiny square safe made out of completely what Twilight assumed was pewter. She reached out with her magical senses again, knowing the composition of enchantments made up to safeguard the box. The familiar feel of Celestia's gorgeously complex magic greeted her mind. Twilight crushed the magic under her own, snuffing out every last vestige of Celestia's power. After dealing with Titan's protective enchantments, Celestia's were almost primitive. The safe popped open. Twilight gently lifted the perfectly preserved tome within. She slipped the rubble away from the right desk and used the spell to repair the chair she had broken and sat. There was only one true account of pre-Discordian time left of ponykind. Only one book that referenced the years of Titans and Terra. If the answers existed, they were in this tome. The book opened to the first page with a thought, and Twilight began to read.
My name is Astor Courscare,
And I write these words in moonlight to both ensure to be served by eternity and to scorn the enemy of the crown, Princess Luna. As soon as her eyes began to move across the page, Twilight felt the impressive magic against her mind. She drew away, wondering for a moment why the magic seemed so familiar to her. The answer came to her was startling. It felt like her own. Astor Courscare had enchanted her own general. Gently, and with many safeguards in place, Twilight opened the mind to the spell. Astor tasted dirt and blood.
Huh, maybe that's your talent,
Clarion said as he put a hoof on the back of her neck and held her face against the ground.
Maybe your name should be Punching Bag.
The other children in the yard laughed. He lifted his hoof to kick her in the side. Astor entirely spat up a little blood and rolled away weakly from the blow before curling up into a ball. Not for the first time, she wished she was an earth pony. Clarion was so strong. She wished she could be that strong. She wished she could hurt him back. Instead, she was a unicorn. She learned a bit of magic. She could use it when putting away the dishes that were set glasses on the top shelf. That was about it. She couldn't use to hurt Clarion. It was so useless.
Get up,
Clarion said.
Show us your flank. Let's see if you have your punching bag cutie mark yet.
He grabbed her and threw her to her hose. Astor stumbled woozily as he caught her balance. One of her teeth felt loose from where she had stomped on his face.
Blank,
he said, slamming her flank.
Guess we'll have to keep going.
The ponies in the yard cheered, and Astor made a mental note of everyone present. They get what was coming to them. Clarion tackled her. Astor saw the attack coming, but didn't like she was fast enough to move out of the way. It wasn't like she could fight back against the burly coat. She was powerless. Her head rang as it bounced against the dirt once more. Clarion climbed up top of her and struck her in the jaw. Astor bit her tongue for the second time that day.
I could snap your horn off,
Clarion said. At this, the other ponies in the yard grew quiet. Astor felt twinge of real fear. Clarion never went this real far. Unicorn's horn took months to regrow. Somewhere, Vic, I'm looking at Tempest's shadow right behind me, and she's just really busy at that line.
You're already a talentless freak,
Clarion said. Let's make you a magicless one, too. Astor trembled, heating herself for how little she could do.
No,
Clarion said finally.
Putting away the dishes is all you're good for. Maybe I'll choke you instead.
With that, he began to push down her neck with a foreleg. Astor began to struggle, thrusting out about her legs and beating them against his side, but it was no good.
I could do it, you know, he said. I could say I didn't know how much I was hurting you. I could say I thought it was a game. And the worst part is, they could do is constrict me, because I'm just a kid. I get out here and get to join the army 2 years early. No one's going to take me home early, anyway.
Astor's eyes widened as he spoke. He couldn't kill her. He was just a bully. There are other kids around, at least a dozen of them. One of them would do something. One of them was sure to see he was taking it too far. Her face began to go fuzzy. No one said anything. They were all going to watch her die. Astor realized Clarion was right. He could get away with killing her. Everybody knew he wanted to join the army anyway. Not that any of them had a choice. They were about to get adopted any time soon, and the orphanage wouldn't keep them past the age of 17. She had no mark, no parents, no possessions. Was her life or dead really going to mean anything anyway? Why would she even want to survive in the first place? So she could get up tomorrow and live another day as a useless, friendless, talentless Astor Courscare? So she could proudly put the dishes on the highest shelf before getting beaten half to death out in the yard? Everybody who knew her was standing around, watching her have the life choked out of her, uncaring. So why should she care? The answer came to her had little to do with Astor Courscare. She didn't want to let Clarion win. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction. She wanted him to live out the next 2 years in the orphanage, watching as no ponykind to take him to a loving home. Barring that, she wanted him to die. Astor lifted a foreleg and gestured wildly in the area behind them. She started to form words, but it failed, but she managed to mouth Sundance nonetheless. For all his talk, Clarion's eyes widened in fear. Astor noted with disdain how afraid he was of getting into trouble. He should have been afraid of getting killed. Clarion turned to look for their caretaker, and Astor immediately mustered her strength and threw his leg off her neck. She took a single excruciatingly painful, gasping breath before Clarian's head whipped back around toward her. "Hey!" he said. He still had her pinned to the ground. Astar would only get one chance. She wrapped her two forelegs around his neck, then drove her horn into his neck. She didn't get all the way in. Sundance had forbidden her from sharpening her horn, but it was still enough. Clarion staggered back as she watched her horn free. She felt his blood spurt out of his neck and all over her face. Astor stood, gasping painfully for more air as Clarion flailed around on the ground before her. "Hey, Tempest, I think you might get along with this girl." "Yeah, I'm starting to like her already." She must have hit his vocal cords. Instead of screams, he was making raspy, gurgling noises and clenching his throat. Astar watched him, knowing with a certain sense of satisfaction that no pony in the yard came to his aid. It wasn't enough. The amount of blood spurting from his neck seemed like too little to Astor. The wound might not be fatal, especially not to an earth pony. Astar needed to be fatal. If Clarion healed, he'd come back and kill her. She needed to make sure he could never hurt her again. Once she had caught her breath, she calmly strode over to him and pressed down on his neck with a hoof. She lowered her horn, preparing to push it through the flesh until he hit an artery. She knocked off her hooves before she could, by a Pegasus even larger than Clarion. "Titan's heart!" Sundance cursed as he set Astor on the ground. "What is wrong with you, Astor? You could have killed him!" Astor looked her caretaker in the eyes. "I was trying to kill him." Sundance turned to her assistant caretakers, who were now just standing in the yard. "Get him to the hospital!" She then rallied on Astor. "Inside! Now! Everyone inside!" Astar was one of the few children at the orphanage with her own room. After months of fighting with every pony she had been paired with, Sundance had simply opted to let her be alone. It was not a reward. The orphanage, full as it was, could not just give her a room built for two ponies. Instead, she'd been moved into a refurbished supply closet. Her room was less than a third the size of a double, but she preferred it. She liked to be alone. The only thing occupying the tiny space was a bed and her books. They weren't hers, of course. She didn't own anything. She didn't even have a keepsake from her parents. Like most of the others, Astar always made fun of them for crying over their little trinkets. Lockets, blankets. Orange Pico even had a little model sailboat. Secretly, however, she would like to have even a little proof they existed. Once. Instead, she had books. Astor learned early on that most books were useless. Books about gardening or history, or stories about valiant princesses rescuing distressed damsels. But even the orphanage had a couple of books on magic. The problem was to learn magic. She had to learn math and sciences, as well as needing a dictionary to navigate the more complicated passages. One of the books was written in Old Tongue, so Astar had hoarded a couple of books on that too. Soon, every available space in her room was crammed with books, all because she wanted to learn some magic, in the hopes it would help Clarion until he went away. She wiggled the tooth that Clarion had almost knocked free. It was too loose, and Astor made her exercise at tearing it out with her magic. Maybe as she practiced, she get good enough to rip somebody else's teeth with her mind. Then she began to read. She was good enough now that she could hold the book in the air and read it at the same time. This particular tome was about moment fields. Astor was unable to create one herself, but she still could appreciate how they worked, and why they were more efficient with a simple wall of force. Her thoughts were interrupted by the turning of a lock on the door. Astor never understood why Sundance needed to be able to lock them in her rooms. Where would they go? Sundance stepped into the room and sat down in the only place she could, next to Astor on the bed. There were bags under her head. Her mane was disheveled, and in her mouth she carried a bucket, which she set on the floor. "Clarion is going to survive," she said at last. "Shame." "Don't say that, Astor!" Sundance said. She pulled a cloth out of the bucket and wrung it out with her mouth. "Stay still." She brought the cloth and began to wipe Astor's face. "I'm going to die now," Astor said after a time. "Clarion's going to kill me." Sundance dropped the bloody cloth back into the bucket. "Clarion Call is a bully, not a murderer. I told you to stay away from him, and you stabbed him in the neck!" "He was choking me," Astor said. "He said if he killed me, they probably conscript him. He wants to join the army, you know." "Clarion is a troubled coat," Sundance said, "and you're smart enough to know not to get involved with him." Astor reached down with her magic and pulled the cloth out of the bucket to begin to wipe at her tender neck. So it's my fault then? My fault for being a talentless freak? That isn't what I said, Astor. Still, he hurt you more than he usually does. Why was he so angry? I didn't do anything. He's an angry pony, if you hadn't noticed. Sunday sighed. It's never nothing with you, Astor. Astor considered continuing her lie. Sundance could probably be made to believe her for now, so he wasn't sure Clarion would keep quiet. Still, she decided to tell the truth. She was, after all, a little proud of herself. He told me my parents were still probably alive, she said. He said I was only here because he didn't want me. Nobody wanted me. Astor, you know that isn't true. Spare me, she said. Are you going to adopt me? Astor. That's what I thought, she said. I broke his rattle. Sundance looked at her in horror. What? His rattle. The one with the little blue dots on it. I turned it into ashes. It was the first time I ever lit something on fire with my mind. Then I told him his parents didn't want him either, because they were dead. He started hitting me. Then he started to kill me. I decided killing him was the only way to make sure he never got to hurt me again. Astor, that rattle was the only thing he came here with. He valued it more than anything. I know, Astor said. That's why I destroyed it. Astor wrung out her cloth and deposited it back into the bucket. For a time, Sundance was silent. You hit his vocal cords, she said at last. He's an earth pony, so they'll heal. But he won't sing for months. That's what makes us feel special, Astar. You're trying to make me feel sorry, she said. I'm not sorry. Why should he get to feel special when I don't? Why should he get a stupid rattle? He's going to come back and kill me, and I don't even care. Don't say that, Astar. It's true. No pony likes me, and I have no talents. If I died, how long would it take you to forget about me? How long until my name got mentioned for the last time? Can you tell me the names of all the orphans who turned 16, gone off to war? Or have you forgotten them too? Sundance stood to leave. You have no idea how much it hurts, Astar. To see them to go off to war and die. All of you grow up being told that nobody wants you, so that's what you do. But it isn't true. I wish I could make you see that. And with that, she left, locking the door behind her. Astar Courscare was powerful. She flew in the center of the orphaness's main hall, bathed in the light of her newly awakened magic. Around her orbited several dozen books. She had one of them open and was reading all about blade casting when they came to collect her. 2 Pegasi, lightly armored and bearing the encircled sun of Titan's army, started the room. Between them was a pink-maned white alicorn. Astor had never seen an alicorn before. You're Princess Celestia, she said. Celestia regarded her for only a moment, face expressionless. Kneel, she said at last. Astor considered her words. Why should I? She said. If you're here to execute me, I die if I kneel. And if I die if I don't. You can't conscript me. Then will my bad manners finally change your mind? Again, the princess's face did not betray her thoughts. Leave us. No pony spoke. Sundance as well as Celestia's guards both left immediately. Celestia continued to regard Astor with a cold scare, and Astor began to feel like a child for the first time in years. Suddenly floating in the center of the room seemed silly. Astor Courscare, she said. You killed a cult. He wasn't a cult, Astor said. He was older than me. He was a cult and you are a filly. Children both. Tell me why he is dead. Astor was amazed at how Celestia could make such a musical voice sound bland and lifeless. He tried to kill me, she said, so I stabbed him in the neck with my horn. You killed him with magic. I did, Astor said. He survived when I stabbed him in the neck. But I broke his voice somehow. His special talent was singing. When he came back to the orphanage, he tried to kill me again. And that was when you got your mark? Celestia asked. Astor nodded. I was dying, she said. He was choking me to death in the kitchens, and I couldn't stop him this time. Then I felt all warm inside, and suddenly I felt all good. Celestia nodded. An awakening. I had so much magic, Astor said. I started flowing and my eyes were hot. Clarion got scared. He backed away. It was not in self-defense. He backed away, Astor said. But I knew he'd try again. He'd come for me in my sleep, or stab me with a knife. So I grabbed him with my magic, she said, remembering. I pulled him in all different directions. He came apart. There had been blood everywhere. I see, Celestia said. Do you know how highly your magical powers measures? No, Astor said. They gave me a scale to use it, but I broke it. Celestia nodded. Yes, Astor, you broke it. You're an extremely special unicorn. Valuable, Astor said. Celestia cocked her head. I'm valuable. You want me to fight in your army, and if I don't, you're going to kill me. That's why you're here. Celestia began to step closer. Essentially, yes. Magical talents are extremely valuable. You are the most valuable magical talent. I have come here prepared to appeal to you as an orphan. I was going to tell you that everything would be okay, and I was going to take care of you now. I intended to make you feel wanted and offer you a home. Astor smiled. You aren't? I am, Celestia said, but now I've met you. I can see I can make what you find to be a far more compelling offer, even more true. It was the way you refused to kneel, the way you float instead of sit, the way you described killing Clarion Call. This will make you less inclined to rebel. She stepped aside Astor's bubble of books and leaned down. Power, Astor. If you come with me, become my pupil, and do exactly as I say, you will become the strongest mortal pony to have ever lived. I will teach you to kill your enemies, and you will make my enemies yours. You will never want for food, shelter, or attention. You will be respected by your allies, and feared by your rivals. Astor looked up at her. The offer was something she had to think about. I accept, she said, but I have a question. Refer to me as your highness. I have one question, your highness. Celestia nodded in approval. Ask. You weren't clear. Is this a conscription? Or an adoption? Terra supposed it was nice to finally spend some sisterly time with Celestia, even if it was locked in her older sister's legs, and pummeling towards the ground at near supersonic speeds. The hair on Celestia's back burned, though she couldn't tell if it was from the heat of Celestia's passage or the lightning strike. Taking the fight to the air had been an act of foolishness on her part. What exactly compelled past Terra to bow in her daughter in the sky when she was the queen of the firmament and eluded her? Past Terra could be a bit of an idiot sometimes. The ground was coming up fast. Terra was not thrilled by the idea of the impact. Typically, the ground and her got along swimmingly. She was Terra, after all. But something told her that Earth Terra would suffer, so she ended up decorating the furthest floor, a discolored puddle as thick as a coin. The moment before they passed the tree line, Terra acted. She liquefied the dirt beneath them as they broke through the canopy, snapping branches and setting leaves aflame. They hit the ground with enough force to paralyze Terra's flesh and send liquefied earth fountaining into the air around them. Celestia fumbled as they struck, and Terra broke free of her grip, let the earth pull into its embrace. Her torn flesh reknit itself, and her burns healed as she was engulfed in darkness. The flowing soil was not kind to her daughter, and it fell at Celestia, following up her coat and sticking to her in thick strands. Celestia beat her wings frantically to escape as it pulled her under, tearing herself free of Terra's entrapment. She shook the liquid dirt from her armor as she landed it on solid ground. Terra emerged from the pool fully healed, and told the ground to solidify with the tap of her hoof. It froze beneath her, referring to a form not like the one it had before. Terra didn't need the ground to be solid. She could walk on water after all, but focusing on her hooves would be an unnecessary distraction. You know, Celestia said, you really should have seen Discord coming. A walk through the palace gardens would have told you he'd been here all along. Burning leaves fell to the ground around them, embers and ash drifting in a sea of green. Terra snorted, even as she wondered why Celestia was startled. The gardens? She asked. Do I seem like the type of pony who's into gardens? Celestia raised an eyebrow. You're Mother Nature. Oh, Celestia, Terra said. She cast exegesis. Nature's hardly mine. It never has been. At least of all now. Tell me, why try to start a conversation? What are you waiting for? She flared alive before Celestia. I'm narrowing down every possible action you can take, she said, figuring out how to give a problem you can't solve. Oh, Terra said, let me help you, child. 2 possible outcomes exist. 1, you fail to kill me. That returns at a defeating discard, and you die. 2. You succeed in killing me. Titan returns after killing Discord, and you die. That's what happens when you play the Immortal game, Celestia. Titan wins, and you die. Celestia smiled faintly. We'll see. She crossed the distance between them, and with a flap of her wings, Exogenesis flared as a deflective zenith. Terra felt like a cornered manticore. Her blade work was frantic. Exogenesis was rarely in one place, even one part for long. It clawed at Celestia's guard, desperately trying to work through her defense. Her efforts were to no avail. Fighting Celestia was like fighting a mirage. Celestia's style focused not on power or speed, but on duplicity. Over half her strikes were feints of some kind or another. Every time Terra intercepted them, she was forced into a more compromising position. Every step forward cost her 2 steps back. Terra did not give her the advantage so easily, however. She dodged and wove under Zenith just as often as he caught it on Exogenesis. When she did hold Celestia's blade on her own, it was the last out with her hose or skull. In pure physical combat. Terra far outclassed Celestia. They dueled as gods. The trees around them might as well have been kindling. So often did Celestia shear through them with her ever-burning blade on her path to Terra. Mundane fire was hardly a nuisance, and Terra strode with single-minded determination on her quest to kill her daughter. Ashes fell to the ground around them. Blood matted the coats. They never ceased. So! Celestia said over the sound of clashing blades. You said you were good once! What happened? The 2 parts of Exogenesis drove through the air towards Celestia. She pushed herself backwards with her wings, crashing through 2 trees in an effort to avoid Terra's blade. My father happened, Terra said as she rejoined her blade. He arranged a very bad marriage for my past self. Terra couldn't help but grin, the way Celestia's eyes narrowed. Celestia was all too easy to toy with when it came to matters of the past. Celestia dove at Terra. Terra spun away from Zenith and backhoofed her daughter across her face. Dirt dragged under Celestia's hooves as she rolled back onto her hooves and skidded to a halt. Terra watched her jaw snap into place with a satisfying pop. Dad, Terra said lightly, and he gave me the order to strike ponykind down. It took decades to get the numbers just the way our dear father wanted them. I had a tendency to overdo things, you see. Then we had to breathe them back to their proper numbers. She looked at Celestia, and Exogenesis collided with Zenith in the air between them. But it wasn't about statistics, Terra hissed over the sizzling blades. Her eyelashes caught fire. She ignored them. Titan wanted to send them a message, so he ordered a generation gap. Every pony under 9 years of age had to, at the time, have the directive, had to die. It's a month of torture to include you in. Our father has a bit of a cruel streak. It's all his fault, isn't it? Celestia asked. Exogenesis flickered. Terra growled. No. I own my actions. Titan doesn't understand how ponykind can resist when the battle they fight is so hopeless. But I know. I've seen so many mothers and fathers put themselves between me and their infant children, knowing that they are about to die, knowing they can't stop me, but trying nonetheless. Fight to survive. It's part of their design. I'm going to kill you, Celestia said. I'm going to make you helpless. Then I'm going to cover your nostrils and shove my hoof down your throat. Terra smiled. That's the Celestia I raised. I get so tired of hearing your self-righteous justifications for why you should rule the world. No amount of good you can do can make up for the sins of our past. I've wiped the entire species off the face of my world. Celestia's mouth twisted into a grimace of disgust. And you're proud of it, Terra? How? Celestia shouted. A jolt of magic coursed through Terra as Exogenesis went out. Her hair was singed off, a wave of engulfing flames poured forth to envelop her. Terra called air under her tattered wings and threw herself backward, casting the flames back as Celestia flew away. Celestia stepped through the fire unscathed. Sunfire never hurt Celestia. How? Celestia screamed. How could you have ever been good? She thrust Ian forward with her foreleg. A searing white stream of liquid erupted from the tip of her blade and poured forth with an immense roar. Terra sprang off the ground with the strength of a colossus to avoid the blast. Beads of sweat gathering on her forehead for concentration. Celestia swung the beam toward her. It cleaved through the trees of the forest, instantly transforming every trunk and touched off a puff of ash. Leaves and grass, sensitive of feet from the flames, caught fire. The ground beneath them glowed as it was reduced to molten glass. No, Terra thought. Sunfire never hurt Princess Celestia. But it always hurt everything else. How could you ever have been good? Past Terry could be a bit of an idiot sometimes. As the beam died, Celestia sought through the air towards her. Despite her godly resilience, half of Terra's coat had been reduced to a thin stubble. Celeste and Terra growled as Zenith and Exogenesis flared against one another, green and gold light fusing to burn together as a miniature star. Celestia pushed Terra's blade back to her own, and struck Terra with a foreleg, coated in telekinetic energy. A thunderous crack rang out through the forest, as a ripple of concussive force drew Terra to the ground. Terra twisted in the air to land on her hooves. Too late. Terra realized that the ground beneath her had been turned to molten glass. Her triple shock of pain as the blade slank and fell at her legs shattered Terra's concentration. The pain traveled upward as each of Terra's legs was burned off well past her hooves. Her mind registered one thought before all others. Celestia had tricked her. Treacherous little bitch. Terra propelled herself into the air with a sweep of her wings, so powerful it sent a wave through molten earth. Apparently Celestia wasn't finished. With the talent of a 1,000-year Pegasus, Celestia called lightning from a clear sky, drawing out a thunderbolt as thick and round as she was. It struck Terra head-on. Electricity overwhelmed her senses. Her eyes sizzled and popped, the sticky fluid running down her face. Celestia wasn't just fighting her. Celestia was trying to kill her. Here. Now. In the back of Terra's mind, a voice screamed a single word. Survive. As he hit the ground, Celestia threw another roaring stream of liquid sunfire. Terra felt it coming even as he couldn't see it. She tried to move, but she was too slow. This wasn't right. She had to survive. Terra was cremated alive. As she screamed, it was lost in the sound of Celestia's spell as it burned away the air around her. As she felt pain, it was only momentarily. The fire burned away even her nerves. Terra felt her bones warp and crack under the heat. Rats in her own charred muscles. Melted fat ran off her body and vaporized. If she was going to survive, it was going to be at Celestia's mercy. No killing blow came. Terra's body knew how to put itself back together, how to drag the remnants of a pony together and turn flesh into ass. Her bones splintered and snapped back into place as her muscles filled out. Celestia did not kill her. Her organs began to toil away inside her as the blood through her veins once more, but Celestia did not kill. It was only once Terra's eyes flew back into their sockets that Terra saw why. Titan stood above her with his terrible countenance. Mane raised his face. A blazing white corona set around 2 eyes burned amidst the darkness. His great black wings stood stalwart, rimmed at their tips with ether. Singularity was extended before him, holding Zenith in the air above Terra, protecting her. Terra looked down and suppressed a shudder. How could you have ever been good? Past Terra was certainly a fool. For only to fate worse to death than being Titan's star was being his wife. She was both. I, Titan said, am not amused. Name? One of the guards asked. My name is Astor Corsair, she said. I'd like to speak with Major Compromise. The guard looked her over. Astor wore no uniform, and today her mane was a shade of bright red. No, he said. I urge you to reconsider your response, Astor said. I'm very important, you see. What I see, the guard said, is a rankless child attempting to interrupt an important meeting held by the acting head of the army. Get out of here! Half the time and twice the effort it takes me to sneeze, Astor thought. That's how long it would take me to kill you. Valiant! She called out. Valiant had been speaking with the soldier of the army. He appeared to excuse himself from the conversation before striding towards Astor and the guard. Get us in, she said to him. And who's this? The guard asked, looking Valiant over. His eyes took in a black robed, white unicorn, somewhere close to Astor's age at 16. Astor gave a polite half-nod, half-bow. I am Sir Valiant, Knight Commander of the Natural Order. Pleased to meet your acquaintance. The guard laughed. You? He asked. A Knight Commander of the Natural Order? I suggest you take that robe back to its owner before he gives you a whipping, boy. Valiant did not appear offended in the slightest. The Natural Order does not consider an age a substitute for experience or skill. I request you allow Astor and I into the inner wing to speak with Major Compromise. The guards laughed, redoubled. Is that so? Tell me, Sir Valiant,
What kind of knight of the natural order requests anything from a lowly guard like me? A well-mannered one, Valiant said. Just my luck, the guard shouted. I got the only polite knight out of the whole order. Any of the others would have killed me by now, right? But not you. Oh, you are too kind, Sir Valiant. Thank you, Valiant said with a nod. Astor started to grow impatient. Scram! The guard said. I know for a fact the Major doesn't have any knight commander with the army. Valiant nodded again. I am not with the army. I have been assigned as Astor Coursair's Knight Protector, so she may continue to hold no rank during her stay here. Look, kid, the guard said, I don't care what story you two have cooked up. You keep running your mouth, and I'll have you both strung up by your ears. Understand? Valiant regarded him coolly. How stupid, he said quietly, can you possibly be? Finally, Astor confided. The guard's jaw fell open. What did you say to me? Valiant continued to speak, voice calm and level. No pony would dare impersonate a knight commander of the natural order. I am young, yes, and so your doubts as to my rank are not entirely unfounded. But if you were to consider, even for a moment, that there is the slightest chance that I am who I say I am, you would have treated me with a little more respect, just in case. You could have excused yourself, checked my identity on the ledger, and then returned informed. Yet you did not. Do you understand that while in this count, I am the word of King Titan? The guard looked from Valiant to Astor, certainly showing on his face. I'll check the ledger, he said, but if... No, Valiant interrupted him. You will not. You will decide here and now whether or not you believe what I am saying is true. If you allow me through, and I am an impostor, you will be punished by your superiors. If you turn me away, and I am not an impostor, I will invoke the wrath of Titan. That means he kills you, Astor said. Almost like a classic puzzle, Astor thought. Wonder how often guards get those on the job. That's exactly what an impostor would say, the guard said. If you don't want me checking the ledger. Astor noticed a bead of sweat glistening on his forehead. It is, Valiant said. It's also pointless cruelty. If I am who I say I am, doesn't that fit the descriptions of a knight of a natural order that you've heard? The guard looked around frantically. You can't expect me to. 3 seconds, Valiant said. Okay, the guard said. Just go. Major's going to have my ass for this regardless. Thank you, Valiant said as both he and Astor strode past the guard. You will undoubtedly wish to check my weapon. His robe fluttered, and 13 pieces of metal neatly stacked themselves onto the ground. 13 pieces of thunderbolt silver. The guard looked down at the metal, and Astor knew exactly what ran through his head. Only the owner of the blade could manipulate it with telekinesis. Consider it a rare kindness, Valiant said as he turned to move deeper into the inner circle, that I will forget your face. Well, Astor said once they were well on their way. He made a compromise. That was almost mean of you, Valiant. I'm surprised. Valiant raised an eyebrow. I was doing him a kindness, he said. Any other member of the order would kill him if he shows that much disrespect. I taught him a much-needed lesson. Still, I'd like to use my power for something other than being your bully for once. I hear Furcrag is getting restless again, Astor said. How does slaying one of the strongest dragons in the world sound? Impossible, even for you and me. I was thinking more along the lines of rescuing a damsel, something that would make the world a better place. And instead, you're stuck opening all the doors I can't blow down, Astor said. Perhaps I should ask Celestia for a rank. Princess Celestia, Valiant corrected. Titles are important. All knights say that, Astor countered with a smile. Tell me, Valiant said, why are we about to interrupt a meeting between Major Compromise and all of his most trusted officers? You hadn't already guessed? I have my suspicions, Valiant said, the greatest of which comes from the fact you don't wear jewelry. Astor looked down to the necklace of large beads around her neck. You are so observant, she remarked, but this is just for the worst-case scenario. I'm going to tell the Major I'm taking command of the army. Valiant stopped in his tracks. You've got to be... No. You know what? I know you enough. You're not joking. Well, Astor said, stopping to face him, let's hear your objections. You can't, Valiant said. It's insane. Celestia put you here so you learn how the army works, not tear it apart from the inside out. Celestia doesn't ever do something for one reason, Astor said. I have learned how ponies make war, Valiant. I am going to make some improvements. By staging a coup? Can you hear yourself speaking right now? I can, Astor said, growing irritated.
Celestia gave Compromise his army, so he could take the Everfree Verge. He has failed to take the Everfree Verge. I deemed it necessary to step in.
You're doing this to impress Celestia.
Why else do I do anything? You are my Knight Protector, and you'll do as I tell you. And right now, I'm telling you to stand idly by while I seize command from Major Compromise. You can do that, yes?
When Celestia learns of this,
don't presume to know the princess better than I do, Valiant. Now come!
She turned and swiftly began to walk away. This is crazy, Valiant muttered before following her. I don't have my blade, Astor.
You won't be needing it. Your job is to stand idle, remember? You are a Knight Commander, and if you stand near me, I look important by proxy.
You can't take whatever you want through looking important, Astor.
I know, she said, but I can take rest through power, intelligence, or sex appeal.
Sex appeal? Valiant asked. Is that why you look the way you do?
Yes, Astor answered. My sweet heavenly Celestia, what is with Twilight's family of royal guards? If it isn't Shining and Cadence, it's Twilight and Flash Sentry. I swear. Yes, Astor answered. You'd be amazed at how easy it is to get a pony to do what you want when her sole interest is taking you to bed. Take the hint, Astor thought to herself. Back there, you got us through the guard because he thought you were a Knight Commander of the Natural Order.
I am a Knight Commander of the Natural Order.
Irrelevant, Astor said. The position is not something real, like our unicorn magic. It's an invention. The rules of blade casting, which were selected in a fashion that's seemingly arbitrary, cause ponies to look upon you with respect, simply because of the color of your robe.
What are you getting at? Valiant asked.
I am the strongest unicorn alive, yet I hold no rank, and in so many ways I am powerless. Compromise is a major, and this imaginary position gives him a very real store of influence. But he's proven he can't use it anymore. I'm going to take it away from him.
And then you're going to win Everfree Verge?
Yes, Astor said. If a single pony can influence others by the way they dress, and the way they act, and the way they are spoken of, cannot an army? Where is the robe that demands our enemies reconsider? Where is the title that will bring them to their knees without a drop of bloodshed? I propose that an army is not unlike a pony.
You sound like you're a book all of a sudden. Astor ignored him. The inner ring of Compromise's camp was constructed around the ruins of an ancient town, apparently been burned to the ground by Furcraig in one of his more active years. The result was a collection of barely habitable stone ruins that served as housing for the army's commanders. The central structure, the bare remnants of what had been a keep, was where Major Compromise held his war talks. No pony was allowed in or out while they were ongoing. Astor threw the doors open with an excessive amount of noise and magical flair. Inside, over a dozen ponies stood around a large table. At their center was Major Compromise, an aging unicorn with a green coat and blue mane. Major Compromise. Astor called out, a pair of eyes turned to her. Your failure to consult me before making the decision to retreat was as ill-advised as the decision itself. Celestia will be most displeased. Establish yourself as a being of power and authority. Let the disparity between pony they see and the pony you act intrigue them. Courscare, Compromise growled. I told you I'm not interested in teaching a filly the intricacies of battle. Get out of here before I have you strung up by your ears.
An effective counter. It makes you appear little while ignoring your own claim to authority. Only you, Townsend. Oh well, nothing to do but make him appear childish, as well as drive the Celestia bit home. You act childish, Compromise. Intend to harm me, and I will have you hung for treason, dead quartered for heresy. Enough time has passed, they will all know as the Bladecaster standing at your side. Let them ask, who is this mare that threatens the Major with death? The Major stared at her, mouth agape. Astor didn't blame him. She had, up to that point, played the eager student. You dare, he said at last. You dare accuse me of betraying the crown? For now, answer the question. I am Right Hoof of Celestia herself, and I speak with her voice. Astor lied. I do not accuse you of betraying the crown. I convict you of it. If you're lucky, you'll argue against the treason and not the authority. I have not done anything to betray my king and princess. You speak nonsense, Courscare. That was easy. Let's make him angry. Princess Celestia has instructed you to take the Everfree Forge. You are about to order a retreat. Staying in the Forge will result in a loss, Compromise cried. Retreat guarantees one. Astor sighed. Or have you forgotten that, Compromise? Do I need to remind you that when you retreat, it means you lose? Unless you win in the end. But we won't let him on that. The Major's face was glowing red.
You dare talk to me that way, he bellowed. I am the veteran of a decade of war. I commanded decisive victories at Hoshgrad and Midland.
Midland? Midland?
Wait a minute, did he just say Midland?
Did he just say Midland?
Oh my fucking god.
Is this a Berserk reference? Yay! Belittle him. Neither of us were won by retreating, if I recall.
Bitch!
Was all the Major said. Time for the most important weapon of all. Blatant lies. Princess Celestia suspected your incompetence, Astor said, but even she did not think it would be this bad. 4 defeats in 2 months. 3 villages lost to Princess Luna. Your failure is indefensible, and drastic actions must be taken to ensure you do not hinder the crowns any longer.
You have no authority,
Compromise said, fuming. On the contrary, Astor said, you have no authority. I am stripping you of your rank and its privileges. You are to return to the capital immediately. If you do not follow this order, I will invoke the wrath of Celestia. Please, she thought. Oh, Celestia, please. Her mind went to heavy beats on her necklace. There were exactly 20 of them. Major Compromise cast his blade.
I'd like to see you try, well-worn bitch!
Displaced the air, switched around Astor as he came out of a teleport, only inches away from the Major. His mouth opened, but the only thing that came out was a soft gurgle before his eyes glazed over. He collapsed onto 3 nicely sliced piles of pony. A torrent of blood rushed around Astor's hooves as he hit the floor with a meaty thud. I grew up in an orphanage, Major, Astor thought. Her blade, Sangrophile, hovered in the air. Astor used it to cut towards her, and as a result, her face and mane had been covered with blood. She shuddered with pleasure as the warm beads ran down her face, tickling her cheeks. The ponies gathered around the table looked on, motionless. Not all power is imaginary, she thought to herself. I am going to tell you exactly what I want to happen, Astor said to her new underlings. You are going to make it happen. And so this method we will win through the Everfree Verge. If that isn't how it worked before, that's how it works now. But please, feel free to make suggestions. My doors are always open. The ponies around the table were silent. Astor could feel Compromise's blood pulling around her hooves. She licked her lips. The Pegasi will begin clearing a weather zone 3 times as large as needed above the camp. The unicorns will begin lighting a triple current amount of campfires at night. Your ponies will set up every tent we have, rather than the only amount we need, and they will space them as such until they fill the new area. No pony spoke. Astor continued. They will do this as we move towards Stirrup Valley, as if to attack Bridalberg. Astor looked up at the table of ponies again and waited. A nearby officer took the bait. Bridalberg appears to be an easy target, yes, Astor said. The enemy wishes to engage us there, so they can flank us with a surprise contingent on the south. Elementary, really. But we aren't going to attack Bridalberg. We're just going to make it look like that's what we're doing. Our foes will hesitate to attack us when the scouts report an army 3 times its previous size is camped at their doorstep. They will assume we got reinforcements from the capital. They'll wait for us to engage. But we won't. By moving into position to attack us from the south, they will leave the main strengths of the verge lightly defended. We will then send our 200 best unicorns and a curious Pegasus to match to take the river south. They will operate in teams of 20 and, starting from the north, they will scourge and desolate every piece of fertile land in the verge. You can't be serious, a pony said. I am. The enemy has demonstrated they are committed to the verge. They will split their contingent to deal with our guerrillas rather than attempt to force an engagement, especially when they think our numbers have tripled. They will fail, however, and every piece of edible food between here and the end of the verge will be consumed within the space of 2 months. Luna controls an Ouropolis, Crumplin. That means that with a committed force of Earth ponies, they can resell the land. To that end, we will also dam the river. You're going to turn the verge into a wasteland, the officer said. I am. Over the course of the next 4 months, the enemy will suffer starvation, desertion, and poor morale. We will convince them that we have a strong foothold here, while forcing them to spread their forces thin. With our facts to a supply line, we will be relatively unhindered. This is vicious, the same officer said. No pony makes war like this. Exactly, Astor said. They won't expect it, and they won't know how to react. They will still control the verge, and they'll still have the larger army. So standard practice dictates they wait for us to make our move. But we won't. We'll starve them out, and then strike when they begin limping back to safer territory. If they think we have reinforced, he said,
Though Master the General has taken a larger interest in the birds, they may respond in kind.
He won't be able to feed an army on scorched earth, Astor said.
I didn't mean the soldiers, he said. What do we do if Princess Luna takes the field?
Another pony barked out a humorous laugh.
When an army does when Slayer takes the field, he said, die.
I will kill her, Astor said.
The officer stopped to look at her. You're not serious!
I can best Celestia in single combat, Astor said. My ultimate purpose in this war is to kill her sister. If Luna takes the field... Astor looked down at the blood she stood in. She wanted more. She dies. For the first time in her everlasting life, Celestia found herself frustrated at Titan's power. It just wasn't fair. It never had been. Titan struck her with a hoof, encased in concussive force, with a wave of shattering bones traveling through her body as she was tossed backwards like a broken toy. She barely managed to block Singularity 3 more times before she collided with the ground. Celestia struggled to right herself. She faced Titan, ready for another attack, but he held back, standing several dozen feet away. Not my daughter, he said. Celestia was unsure if he was referring to her or Terra. She worried for a moment it was both. Ponykind was in big trouble if Titan ever learned to do more than one thing at a time. Singularity spit and came towards her, over 24 shards of pure blackness. Celestia didn't get the chance to react. Every smooth, lightless fragment of her father's blade was transformed into confetti, long before it reached her. Several papers spun and flattened like a flock of butterflies in the air between them. I wonder, sometimes, Discord said, as he popped his distance between them, if you ponies just have a definition of fun, why else would you all be doing this? He made a sweeping gesture to Celestia, Terra, and the burning forest. If you don't like doing this, why do anything that isn't fun? Celestia resisted the urge to sigh with frustration. You're supposed to kill him, she said to Discord. She didn't know what a fight between Titan and Discord looked like. She was more than a little curious. In the past, no magic Celestia could employ could even hinder Discord, let alone send him running. Titan was still. Terra struggled to her hooves. Not going to happen, Discord said suddenly behind her. No, Celestia whispered. You have to. I'll give you 3 days, Discord said. 3 days without Titan to get Twilight and her friends ready. The elements won't work, Celestia said, remembering the dull black crystals affixed to their armor. Discord chuckled. That's because Twilight got them on automatic, he said. She's going to need to put them on manual. Don't play games with me, Discord. Oh no, Discord said. But isn't that what you're going to do right now? Playing your little game? Nothing has beaten Titan at your game. Never. But I'll try, he whispered, just for you. Bastard! Celestia said. You never wanted us to win. Believe me, Celestia, Discord says. He stepped down in front of her to face Titan. It will be much more interesting this way. Yoo-hoo! Discord called out to Titan. Titan regarded Discord coolly. Do you know, Order? Discord says, an apple popped into existence in his claw. Why you assume that this apple will fall when I let go of it? Titan said nothing. Because, Discord said, every other time an apple is released in midair, it has fallen. Why do you assume that an apple will behave the way it has in the past? Discord took a bite of the apple as he strode towards the king. Because that's the way the world works, he said. That's the order. Identical situations have produce identical outcomes. The world behaves this way in the past. Why do you believe that? Well, because, he said, grinning, that's the way it behaved in the past! Discord stopped walking, a short distance away from Titan. The world will be predictable, because the world has always been predictable. It's a circular argument, you see, which makes it invalid. What? He let the apple tumble out of his hand. He fell just like he said it would, through the air and toward the ground. But when it landed, it became a unicorn's severed head. Adult male, red mane, white coat. Titan closed his eyes. Order is not inherent to our world, Discord said. Natural order is an oxymoron. The only truth is that there isn't any, and the only thing natural is chaos. He took a step closer and Titan leaned in. Stop breaking my rules, Order. Do not call me Order, Titan said. discord. You think you could hurt me? You think you could taunt me with my dead son? You could not. You think you can win this world from me? You cannot. Despite all your claims that you are chaos incarnate, you've always been entirely predictable. Greatest weakness is you can never change. He opened his eyes. I do not suffer the same flaw. I am order no longer. My name is Titan, he said as Larry darkened into life before him, and you should not have dropped the apple. Okay, I repeat, my little pirates, take note. Actually, everybody who has ever thought of writing Discord badly, writing him weak, writing him pathetic, or writing him in other way as a badass, take note. Read this little fic, read it all the way through, and see, this is how you write Discord! He is a badass! He manipulates chaos! You write him like this, and you've got me in my seats! You mess this up, I'm gonna be pissed off! Why can't more people actually think about that? But oh, no! We have my little pirates who wants to try to mess him up. Luckily, there are good fics like this. Good news, Astor said as he entered Valiant's chambers. I outrank you now, Lieutenant Courscare. Valiant sat in the center of the room, sharpening a shard of his blade. You don't outrank me, he said, his eyes focused on the silver shard in front of him. I am a knight and you're a soldier. Different caste entirely. But, Astor said, I'm officially the right hoof of Celestia herself now. Princess. Astor waved a hair. Whatever. She's Master General Princess Celestia to me now, anyway. And do you actually call her that? Valiant asked. In public, yes. Celestia tolerates a great many things from me, but undermining her authority while she is present isn't one of them. I'm a good little monster. Without looking up, Valiant switched a piece of his blade for another one. You heard that? He asked. Astor Courscare, she cried. Celestia's little monster. A fine nickname to be given by your enemies, I think. I disagree, Valiant said, but I don't think you care. I take it to stay in our capital is almost finished. After my triumph in the Verge, I'm getting my own army to take the north. What's that big stretch of land north of the ever-free Verge called? The Heart, Valiant answered. We'll be getting closer to Furcag and his brother, Exos. And I should care why? Because they're brothers, and the two strongest dragons in the world. Each of them can reduce an army to Astor, and they stay out of one another's territory. This is the friendliest relationship between the two dragons I ever heard of. The last time Furcag was seen was a month ago, when we were pulling out of the Verge. He leveled an entire village of almost 1,000 ponies. I am not a knight, Valiant. I don't care about dragons. Oh, Valiant said. The last time any pony saw Luna, she was driving Exodus back into his lair. She is the Slayer, after all. Astar frowned. I always thought that was just a catch-all term. Valiant shook his head. Even among Titan's knights, Luna is legendary. Celestia plays chess. Luna slays dragons. Still, she hasn't managed to kill Exos or Furcag yet. So Luna may still be in the heart, Astar said. Killing Celestia's sister would make her end the war. She would fulfill her purpose. Celestia would be proud. She may, Valiant said. But either of the dragons could make your life extremely difficult, and they're far more likely to target us than Luna, seeing as how they know she's a threat. If they do, we kill them. Simple enough. Hardly, Valiant said. Still, it said that Furcag's horde could buy a kingdom, and it contains the purest thunderbolt planetarium known to ponykind. The blade a pony could make out of that metal would have no equal. Money and power, Astor said. Never took you to type, Valiant. Aren't you always talking about making the world a better place? Valiant laughed. The only reason I seem like such a good pony is because every time you see me, I'm next to you, Astor. Like the uniform, by the way. Really, Astor said, looking down at her pure white, buttoned-up coat and cloak. I think the gold trim might be a bit much. At least I don't have to wear a silly hat. What about a hat that isn't silly? He asked. Maybe by Corn or an admiral. Gold trim along the rim. You have to turn your hair white, of course. Though, if you did, we match. Astor gave him an icy stare. Valiant said, maybe we've been in the capital a bit too long. Maybe it's best we just go straight to war. Captain Mercurius stood landed before Astor and said, his phone slight with fear, "We're under attack!" Astor regarded the captain. His wings sighed and belly sported numerous scrapes and cuts, some of which were still bleeding. His mane was in disarray, but that was not unusual for a wing commander. They lived in the air, after all. "Where is your flight?" Astor asked. "Dead," he said, wincing. "3 Pegasi, their leader." "Mare? White with blue and red mane?" Mercurius nodded. "I see," Astor said. "Arcboat is Luna's greatest flying ace. It seems providing troublesome indeed. I presume they are advancing to the north?" "Into the west," Mercurius said. 6,000 at least. They must have somehow cut through the firs." "Indeed," Astor said. "Are your wounds mortal?" "No, ma'am. I can still fight." "Then rally the camps. Tell the ponies to make for battle and await the orders of the commanders." Mercurius was taken aback. "Ma'am?" "You heard me, Captain. If any of my ponies express the same doubt, remind them that I have never lost in the field. I just know this is part of my plan." "Is it? Part of the plan, I mean, ma'am." "No," Astor said. "There will be bloodbath, but we will win." She added upon seeing the look on his face, "Now go!" She tapped her magic and teleported away. Astor came out of her teleport in the center of the command tent, glad to see most of her officers were present. "I assume it looks from the faces that most of you already know we're under attack," she said. "Luna has apparently decided she could take us by surprise." She was right. She looked at all of them. Astar had put to war council for their competence. "Was this why the survival of every pony in this room, and Celestia's campaign in the heart, depends on your ability to listen to what I'm about to say. Understand?" Astor got a solitary nod from every single one of her commanders. So she began to give orders. This battalion would be a sacrifice to draw Luna into overextending, and the battalion would split its second and third ranks to close in flank. The battalion would need to fight on the move, and the one that would need to form a phalanx. They were outnumbered. They were outmaneuvered. But Astor had pushed her soldiers harder than any commander in the Royal Army, and they were better to train as a whole. She never lost a battle. She never gave in ground. She was fully aware of the fact that if she could win this battle, Luna's forces would be scattered and split. Astor could take the entire village. She was Celestia's little monster, and she was not about to disappoint her princess. It was a short meeting, and when she was finished, Astor teleported to her rooms. It was there that she kept her weapons. Sacrifice she kept to herself at all times, but she had other ways of killing ponies. 4 metal discs, sharpened and enchanted for additional maneuverability. 2 retractable hoof blades with enchanted holsters, superheated to discourage close combat. 2 dozen poison-coated needles, fast-ending paralysis to take a Pegasus out of the sky. By now, it was no trouble for Astor to manage the complex array of straps that made up her underarmor rig. She was dressed in less than a minute. Valiant burst through the door just before she took to the field. He was panting, and eyes were wild. "Astor!" he said. "Ah," she said. "Glad you're here. You can come with me. I'll be breaking the morale of an entire battalion. I've never actually seen you fight other than in practice, you know." "No," Valiant said. "Astor, you have to turn the army around. We have to go south now." Astor took him in. "Explain," she whispered. "It's Furcag," he said. "He's left the Verge, fighting flash for Saddleburg." For a moment, Astor was confused. It didn't take her long to figure out exactly what Valiant was trying to say. "Valiant," she said, "if we return now, then Luna will be able to drive us out of the heart completely. She'll take Saddleburg." "And?" Valiant asked. "And a pile of asses is less useful to our enemies than a functional mining town." Valiant looked at her, stepping away. "You can't be serious," he whispered. "This isn't a field of crops, Astor. This is a village of ponies!" "The population of Saddleburg is 2,483. Luna's attack force is at least 6,000. "No," Valiant said, shaking his head. "I can prove, mathematically, that I am making the right decision, Valiant." "They're just a number to you? One village dead is just as statistic?" "Do you know," Astor said, "what it will mean if I win this battle? Luna will lose the heart. Titan's kingdom will have double the population of Terrace, and I will have done it, and Celestia will—" "Celestia? That's what this is about?" "That's what everything is about, Valiant! She made me!" The muscles of Valiant's neck stood out against his skin.
"She despises you!" Valiant shouted.
Astor drew back. "What?" she said, hating herself for stammering. "I spoke to her a week ago, Astor. She's in the heart." "She isn't," Astor said, shaking her head. "I would know." "Princess Celestia hates this war, Astor. She hates killing ponies. I don't even think she wants Luna to die. You're doing the work she doesn't want to. And she hates that too. She doesn't want a little monster, Astor. She wants a sister. Liar! Astor whispered. You want to kill Farkak. You want to slay the dragon. Save the village, get the magic sword. And you take my moment of triumph from me to do it! You think that's what this is about? 2,000 points and you think I want a sword? Your village is going to die, Valiant. There's nothing you can do about it. Get out of my way! Valiant looked at her. You can't do this, Astor. You aren't a god. You're a 17-year-old orphan filly with a get out of my way! Astor hit him with a hammer blow of telekinesis. He was thrown against the wall before crumbling to the floor. She began to leave. Monster, Valiant said, coughing. You little monster! Astor stopped but didn't turn around. I'm surprised it took you so long, Valiant, she said. See what the world already knows. Astor had the power to destroy. Tendons snapped as Astor tore a hoof blade out of an earth pony's neck, and blood spurted onto her face. She spun and sheared another enemy's head off of her shoulders with Sanger File, indulging in the thrill of mortal combat. With a throw of magical energy, her disc looked to slice more ponies to ribbons. Astor leapt back into the fray, breaking Sanger File and launching his blade motes into 3 more soldiers. She yanked the motes upwards, and each tore its way out of her enemies in a miniature fountain of blood. Another Pegasus came at her. Astor broke his foreleg with a hoof blade. He screamed as his flesh sizzled against the superheated metal. He screamed louder when she drove into its twin into his stomach and twisted. A nearby pony began to give orders. Astor wanted chaos. So he teleported to the center of his abdominal cavity. He made no sound as his vital organs were torn asunder. Bits of pony were flung violently into his men as Astor emerged. Without hesitation, she sent 20 blade motes as surprise enemies. Each of them exploded, and much more than 20 soldiers died. The enemies began to break form and run. Astor had been right. These weren't trained soldiers. These were peasants. She moved on. A retreating force was as good as dead, and Astor was not about to run out of enemies to kill anytime soon. Her second mind caught any attack that came her way. Her first mind was dedicated to killing ponies as quickly as she could. It was easy for her, really. Ponies were incredibly fragile creatures. She could have killed them with her hooves. She didn't, though. That would be too slow. It was no fun when they stayed in one place. Pegasi fell out of the air to splatter on the ground around her as she tore her enemies apart. She had to use a spell to keep her mind out of the eyes after it, and her coat became slick with blood. Rarely did Astor treat herself to such a prolonged amount of time in the field. Each pony gave her the same amount of look before they died. It was fear, obviously, but fear came in many different forms. It wasn't fear of a bigger, more powerful pony. Astor knew that fear. It was closer to, but still not quite, the fear of an earth hurricane or an earthquake. It was the same way Astor imagined the villagers would look up to Farkak as he came to devour them. It was the fear of a monster. Astor reveled in the bloodletting. She forgot about Valiant, even what he said about Celestia. She stopped worrying about victory or even her own troops. They were well trained to work with each other as a unit. They would serve their purpose. Her senses in combat were keen, and Astor knew it had been nigh on an hour by the time she had started to tire. Oddly, it was never the ache in her muscles that told her the strength was fading, or even the strain on her minds. She wouldn't notice if her pace didn't slow. This time, she took a blade mote across her shoulder. She rewarded her attacker by slicing neatly into at least 7 pieces, painting the world around them crimson. She tossed a set of conjured chains to the enemy magical talent, then teleported behind him and drove 2 hoof blades into his spine. His castle sizzed and popped around the hot metal before she kicked him off the blades and into the ground. Javelin came her way. She used her magic to push it back along its course, scaring a Pegasus to her collarbone and out their flank. Astor felt a rough, dry pain in her throat, realized he had been screaming the word die for near on 20 minutes. Astor killed again and again, punishing her enemies for daring to make war against the war's one true master. But for every pony she killed, another would take their place. She found herself tiring more with every kill. She couldn't stop, though. Her strategy depended on this section of Luna's army putting out a weak offense. Every soldier she didn't kill or sent fleeing in terror was one that her own forces had to deal with. Her opponents took note of her sluggishness. The small number of minor wounds she had accumulated gave them hope, and they pressed the attack more often than not. Astor found herself surrounded, dedicating far more time and effort to defending herself to committing murder. She wondered briefly if she would die. It seemed like a preposterous idea. She couldn't die. Not to her. Not to ponies. Celestia's arrival could not have been better timed. Her entrance was not grand or showy. She simply landed on the ground next to Astor and said in a defiant voice, "Fire." Astor called up Hellfire. Celestia called down Sunfire. Together they cleared the area around them in a matter of seconds. At the sight of Celestia, the enemies began to flee. "You are too deep in enemy lines, Astar Corsair. This was a risk, even for you." "I deemed it necessary, Princess," Astar said. "If Luna's forces failed to break through to my left, she will have lost much of her advantage." She eyed the princess carefully, trying to detect any hint of pride or anger, but with Celestia it was always too hard to tell. "You abandoned your command," Celestia said. "I deemed them competent enough to act in my absence. My value on the field cannot be ignored." No doubt Celestia knew this was true. She must have seen the bodies. Celestia tilted her head. "Are you all right, Astor? You're covered in blood." The question took Astor by surprise. Celestia had never asked her if she was okay before. "Yes," Astor answered, smiling. "Yes, I am. Covered in blood." It slid down her face in warm rivulets as she soaked her mane. "Now, to work on hoof?" She gestured to the fleeing soldiers with single file. "Of course," Celestia said. Astor had never fought with the princess before. Now was her chance to show Celestia just how much she learned, how worthy she was. Astor went in first, reinvigorated by Celestia's presence. She had several ponies to bits before Celestia caught up with her, then threw her disc into the salon to collect more blood. Celestia could see what she was capable of, and Astor would make of it. Killing seemed so naturally to them that Astor could scarcely believe he had never fought before. Celestia could attract the attention of enemy soldiers, drawing their eye with godlike countenance. She deflected or outright ignored their attacks, never slowing. Astar would blink in and out of their ranks, slaughtering them by the handful before any pony would notice their presence. They were perfect together. Astar wished it could have lasted longer. Fortunately, her own forces overtook them a little more than a quarter had passed. "We've won," Astar said through ragged breaths. A smile crept over her face. "I killed them by the hundreds!" Celestia looked around them at the field corpses. "Yes," she said, "you did. You did exactly what I taught you to do." "Princess?" Astar asked. "Is something wrong?" Celestia looked away. "Clean yourself up, Astar Corsair." With that, she spread her wings and took flight. Astar stormed to Celestia's chamber, slamming the door shut behind her with magic. "You have been—" She froze. Standing over Celestia, not 10 feet away from Astor, was the king. Gravity could not have brought her knees quickly enough. "Majesty!" she said. She turned to Celestia. "Please, Princess, forgive my indiscretion. I had thought one of my underlings was intruding on your chamber." Titan turned her gaze towards her, and for the first time in her life, Astor got a good look at the king of the world. His irises glowed with an inner white light, made of nebulous white ether that stretched down his neck, across the tips of his wings. When he looked at her, Astor felt an inexplicable fear. Not the fear of a pony or even a monster, but of something stranger. It was the fear of death's inevitability, the fathomless dark of the ocean. Astor has thus accomplished the crowning achievement of her lifetime. And Titan made her feel insignificant. She didn't know how it was possible. She was warded against the face of mind magics. She also had no idea how she wasn't able to sense Titan before entering the room. A being of his powers would have been impossible not to detect from miles away. Now she was in very real danger. From what she had heard, King Titan would not think twice about executing her for a simple breach in contact. He could, too. Astor could kill ponies by the hundreds. Titan could kill them in cities at a time. "Repeat thyself, pony," Titan said. Astor cringed. Celestia merely used her divine voice in full, but when she did, the effect was almost musical. Titan's mane made her feel as though it was chewing rocks. Astor began. "Princess Celestia was absent from her council, so I sent a runner to request her presence. I assumed that he entered her Royal Highness's room without permission to look for her. He had done so once in the past." "Interesting," Titan said. "We cannot tell if thou art being dishonest. Where dost thou find her, Celestia?" "An orphanage," Celestia answered. "We know nothing of her origins. They are considered unimportant." Titan tilted his head slightly, as if one side looked at Astor. "Relinquish the hold on thy thorn, pony." Astor hesitated. If Titan wanted to kill her, he wouldn't need to use magic. Still, unicorns never release their own bodies. The hold was intrinsic. Stopping it would be like stopping her own heartbeat. She did as she was told. Immediately, Astor was enveloped in the king's telekinesis. Lifted the air so he was at his eye level. He began to spin her around slowly, examining her. Tell us, pony, Titan said. Who were thine parents? I don't know, your majesty, Astor says. He was spun upside down. They were killed at the outset of war. Thy name? Astor Corsair, your majesty. Courscare, Titan said. Did thine parents leave thee anything? Astor briefly recalled burning Carian's calls rattle so many years ago. No, she said, nothing. Indeed, Titan said. Astor felt a ripple of magic travel through her body. The hoof of a god is in thee, Astor Corsair. Thou art no simple unicorn. He dropped her unceremoniously to the floor, and Astor grunted involuntarily. Titan turned to Celestia. Have a capable stallion impregnate her within the season. Deliver the infant to us when it is born. Beyond this, she is forbidden to have children. Find any of her living relatives and sterilize or destroy them. Have we made ourselves clear? Celestia nodded immediately. Yes, my king. And execute the pony who has entered your chambers in the past. Titan's heart glowed. The ceiling was broken into hundreds of bricks that were pulled apart, suspended in thin air. He left, shooting skywards and sealing the ceiling behind him. I don't understand, Astar whispered from her place on the floor. He and Terra play a game that is beyond you, Astor. But a child? Astor asked. Why? I don't know, Astor, but we need to convince him that you are dead. We'll kill you in battle, and you'll leave the army and go into hiding. No, Astor said. What? No, Astor repeated. I'll do it. Celestia's eyes gave her a look of horror. You would give him your newborn child? Yes, Astor said. My place is here, with the army. No, Astor, Celestia said. It would be monstrous. And I'm your little monster, Astor cried. I don't want children. I want to be by your side. I know what you want, Celestia shouted. You think I didn't encourage it? You think I didn't use you with it? I am an immortal, Astor. Celestia shook her head. A village of 2,000 dead. The day I saw you, hacking them apart, grinning. Astor took a step back. You were with me, she said. It's what you wanted from me. Celestia closed her eyes. Ponykind deserves more than what I have done to you, Astor. I turned you into a monster. No, Astor said, shaking her head. No, I've done everything you wanted and more. I'm your most trusted lieutenant. I'm supposed to kill your sister. I'm sorry, Astor, Celestia said. I cannot tell you how sorry I am for what I have done to you, but you cannot be my lieutenant any longer. You must leave the army and live your own life. No, Astor sighed. This is what I want. Better a monster than a pony. I'm sorry, Astor. You have to leave. But you... Astor said, her voice cracking. You adopted me. I conscripted you. I'm sorry, Astor. No! Astor screamed. 2 parts of Sacred File flared into life around her. Before she realized what she was doing, she was swinging at them at Celestia. Stop saying that! Scene has meant Sacred File. But Celestia had not been Astor's match for years. Astor broke Celestia's guard with ease, forcing her against the wall. She crossed the blades over Celestia's neck. Tell me again, Astor screamed as tears burned her face, that you're immortal! Celestia shut her eyes. Astor, Lieutenant, Astor said, you won't do this to me. You can't take back everything you taught me. You can't just undo what you made me. I'm your little monster, your highness, and I'll win this war and kill your sister even if I have to drown ponykind in its own blood! And you, she said, pressing her legs into Celestia's neck, you're going to rule when I am done. I will give you this world, and you, Celestia, you're going to love me! Astar vanished. You were right. Astar says he appeared in Valiant's rooms. She despises me. From the looks of things, Valiant had been packing. He stood when Astor entered. Astor? He asked. Are you crying? Astor realized he was. She can't even look at me, she said, turning away. I tried to kill her. What? No, Astor said, turning back to Valiant. I didn't try. If you had, Celestia would be dead. But you threatened her. You didn't. Valiant said he began to pace. You have to go back. You have to apologize. Princess Celestia is reasonable. No, Valiant. She wants me to go into hiding. She wants the world to forget me. But I won't let her. I won't be remembered as the pony who named a scale! Whatever happened during what Celestia told you? Astor put a hoof to her temple. She doesn't know what she's doing, she sighed. This war will go on for decades without me. I need you, she said to Valiant. Bring me a list of the 10 strongest stallions in the army. They have to be unicorns. Astor, Valiant said. What are you talking about? I have to have a child, she said. I need to get pregnant. My suitor will have to be a unicorn of considerable strength. You leave a village of 2,000 ponies to die, Valiant said. You expect me to find a stallion for you to take to bed? Are you out of your mind? What was he supposed to do, Valiant? Turn the entire army around and lose the heart? Fail, Celestia? I am Lieutenant Corsair, Valiant. Do you think that any part of my position requires me to value pony life? Does it surprise you so much that I am what I am? I know you, he said. You aren't a monster. Stop talking about children and go to sleep, Astor. I'm not making you any list. Why not? Astor asked. Jealous? What? Come now, Valiant. I know what you want. So does Celestia. Or did you think it was coincidence he put us together? Yes, Valiant Corsair. You would make me powerful children indeed. Valiant gritted his teeth. I am the strongest male unicorn in this army, Astor. You know that. You wouldn't need a list. You think so? Astor said. I've never seen you fight a real foe, Valiant. Have you ever even killed any pony? All you ever do is go on and on about making the world a better place, but you never will. I don't want you, said Valiant. Not anymore. With or without you, this is going to happen, Astor. You don't want to do this. You're acting insane. You want me, Astor said. You followed me for years, Valiant. You don't want to make the world a better place. You want to make me a better pony. You want to fix me. Well, this is your chance. You're a knight, so prove yourself. Slay some of my enemies and call it a quest. Astor turned to the door. Except you can't, she said as she left. 'Cause I already got them all. Astor woke up the next morning and decided she was crazy. She was a staunch advocate of using logic, but her actions the previous day had truly no logical explanation. She led an entire village to burn in dragonfire. That made sense. It was easy to defend her position from a tactical viewpoint. It was even easier to blame Celestia. The princess had never taught her any sort of ethical code. It was, and always been, ditchery at any cost. Still, Astor knew that by almost any pony's standards, what she had done was evil. Indefensible, even. How would her soldiers think of what they had learned she had done, coupled with the heavy losses they sustained in battle? Astor doubted she'd be their favorite commander for long. Celestia despised her. Celestia, who had given her a home, Astor had done everything the princess wanted, and more. But apparently Celestia no longer wanted a useful tool. Astor considered what Celestia did want, if not her. She threatened to kill her princess, which was truly absurd. In hindsight, her answers weren't so surprising. It had been Cecil Dray. Astor had cracked. Now, she was left to pick up the pieces. Valiant would need an apology, as would Celestia. Displaying humility would almost definitely win them back to her side. It would bring her more in line with the ponies they wished her to be. It would mean they were winning. She decided to start with Valiant. No doubt after she had taunted him, he had gone off to sulk someplace within the camp. She tried not to think about the baby as she got out of bed. Above all other things, it bothered her the most to think that she had been willing to give Titan a child. What would Astar the Corsair for the orphanage think, to see her so willingly abandon an infant? Something along the lines of monster, to be sure. Astar was a monster. There were 2,000 dead ponies in Saddleburg to attest to that. But without Celestia, that's all she was, a masterless monster. What was the point anymore? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on her door. A glance at the clock told Astor that she had slept in almost 2 hours. She didn't mind. She earned it. Enter, she said, swinging her open her door without a touch of magic. Ma'am, the runner said, standing at attention. Sir Valiant has returned to the army. He has requested your presence outside. Astar began to dress. Valiant left the army? The runner raised his eyebrows. Yes, ma'am.
He said he was carrying out your orders. We did not think to question the knight of the natural order.
My orders? Astor asked. Prove yourself. Slay some of my enemies and call it a quest.
Astar blinked out at the center of the camp and began to look around frantically for Valiant. A large group of ponies were crowded around something, as he reasoned that was their best bet.
Valiant!
She shouted as he tried to push her way through the crowd. Valiant! The ponies who were around her weren't buzzing. Astar let out a exaggerated sigh.
I am Astor Corsair!
She shouted. Every pony close by immediately turned to face her, then backed away. Silence descended over the crowd of ponies as Astor slowly stood out into her hair. The crowd broke to reveal Valiant. He was covered in blood. His veins ran along one side of his face and down his neck. He removed his harness and returned it to a cord, he was using to drag along a massive red dragon's head. He has slain Dragon Farkhag alone. Astar shook her head.
Not possible,
she said.
You told me only Luna could fight Farkhag or rascals.
Valiant nodded. When two beings come into conflict, Astor, he said, it is more than power that determines who lives and who dies.
How?
Astor said. Valiant shrugged. It's a secret. One you wouldn't want to hear anyway. Now, he said, you know the old language. What is the word for slayer? Astor stared out.
Casimir,
she whispered at last.
Sir Valiant Casimir.
14 stars of what Astor could only assume was Thunderbolt Platinum tore their way through Farkhag's severed head and reassembled towards Valiant. Casimir can be the name of my blade, he said. I would rather be Valiant Courscare. He fell to his knees.
Astor could scarcely believe what was happening. Valiant was supposed to be weak, yet he slain the dragon that even Luna hesitated to meet in combat. And now, held aloft by Valiant's magic, a single blue diamond floated toward her. When it was halfway between them, several stars of Casimir shot through the air. Pieces of gem fell away to reveal a 4-pointed star. Astor's cutie mark. Valiant looked past the gem and into Astor's eyes. Marry me. Terra was in mortal danger. It wasn't something that happened to alicorns often, and it wouldn't be happening now, were it not for the fact that Titan was fighting discord high above them under the black sky. Celestia caught her hoof and struck Terra in the chest. The air was forced out of Terra's lungs as she was sent flying backwards. Cenas pursued her. Over a dozen points of hot light, Celestia followed it. Terra rolled to her feet and split exogenesis to deflect her daughter's blade. Celestia touched down in front of her, pivoting to kick out with her hind legs. Terra ducked beneath them before lashing out with her full legs. Her daughter caught them, broke them, then smashed her head against Terra's. Celestia's speed, coupled with her strange ability to know what Terra was about to do, was proving irksome. Yes, she thought, you're winning again because you're smarter, Celestia. Tear my hind off like that. Watch my blade flicker and die against yours. Never mind your extra century and a half of power. You're just that smart. The first biological imperative was survival. All Terra needed to do was survive as long as possible. Titan would send Discord away just as he had before. Then he would find her. He always found her. He said as much when he made her his wife. Terra fastened her back leg onto her body, then back up until she found even footing in which to duel Celestia. She kept exogenesis close to her body, wary of any tricks that Celestia might try and pull. At this point, hurting Celestia was out of the question. Survive! She did. Cenas came at her again and again, but Terra endured. She was broken, burned, and torn apart on more than one occasion, but she always got back up. For all of Celestia's maneuvering, she didn't manage to kill Terra. It was too difficult a thing to do when Terra was focused on completely staying alive. Finally, Titan descended once again. Something was wrong, though. Titan didn't speed through the air. He fell. He didn't land on the rock beneath them, so crashed into it, Titan dulling against the stone before coming to rest. Terra and Celestia both stopped to look at him. He landed only several dozen feet away from the position. Terra struggled to take a single, ragged breath. Celestia's eyes widened as he turned back to Terra. With a brilliant explosive light, Celestia hit Terra with another beam of sunfire. Terra managed to shield most of the blow, but stormed backwards. Too late, she realized what Celestia was going to do. Terra took the air to see Celestia was standing next to her father. No! Pegasus' eyes saw all. Cenas was plunged into Titan's chest, aiming directly for his heart. It sunk into his body. 6 inches, a foot, 2 feet. Terra sped towards him, but he was too slow. Celestia was killing him. Titan rolled onto his body, ignoring Zenith as his motion caused the blade to nearly cleave him in half. Singularity darkened the space between he and Celestia. Celestia looked up from Titan to his blade. For once, the expression on her face was an honest one. Surprise. Titan thrust his blade forward. Celestia screamed as her chest collapsed around a life of pure darkness. Celestia, Terra landed near him and looked on in fascination. To think, Titan said through labored breath, that you would die so easy. And for all your machinations, I need to only play dead to destroy you. Singularity pulsed, pulling Celestia farther into a blade. She choked. A trickle of black ichor ran out the corner of her mouth and onto her chin. It's over, Celestia, Titan said. This is the end.